Welcome back to another lesson. We are on to lesson 4 of Porpoises in Peril. Remember, I am Miss Wagers, one of your 4th grade teachers here at Topeka Public Schools, and I'm so excited to be reading Porpoises in Peril. Like I said yesterday or last lesson, this is one of my favorite stories. So our learning intention for today. We today are learning to determine the meaning of new words and phrases so that we can better understand the meaning of the author's words and phrases. You got to be able to understand them to be able to understand the book. So we know we're successful when we can identify challenging words in the text. So we have to know when you get to them, being like, oh, this one's kind of challenging. I'm not really sure what this means. And then be able to use context clues to determine the meanings of the words. Okay, so we got 2 parts. First, know when you're not sure about a word. Sometimes we get ahead of ourselves and we like to just skip over things. Okay, so we want to be able to identify that word and then see if we can use some context clues, which we'll talk about, to determine the meaning of that word. So for foundational skills today, we want to identify the base word and the suffix of the words in the first row and add the ed or ing to the words in the second row. So right here for painting, if I have the word painting, my base word is going to be paint, and my suffix I have ing, because right now we are studying that suffix ing and ed. So my next one is studied. Okay, so for this one, my base word is study, S-T-U-D-I. Normally we would have a Y there. We'll talk about spelling rules later. And then the suffix ed. Smiling. My base word would be smile, S-M-I-L-E. But of course, again, with the suffix, we dropped that E and we had to add ing for the suffix. And then wrapped. So the base word would be wrap, W-R-A-P. And then the suffix is ed. Now I want to add ed or ing to the words in this row. So I have grab, I could say grabbed or grabbing. Wave, I could say waved or waving. Carry could be carried or carry. And visit could be visited or visiting. All right, nice job. Let's move on. So we have a couple of vocabulary words to go over this time around. The first word is snorkeling, which can be a really fun activity. So that means swimming underwater using a tube that allows you to breathe with your head in the water. So like we have a picture of a snorkeler, okay? They're breathing underwater and they have that tube that this time is going out above the water so they can get some air. And then temperature. And I bet we all know what temperature is because we've been having a hot summer. But temperature is the degree of hotness or coldness as measured on a scale. So let's get started with reading chapter 3. And that word snorkeling is coming up right away. 10 minutes later, while Reggie and Kate walked toward the ocean, Jada and Cam spotted a family returning from snorkeling. As they took off their snorkeling equipment, Jada approached the family. I bet you saw a lot of cool things down there, she said, smiling. A little boy piped up, yeah, we saw coral reefs. Did you know coral is like a skeleton? We saw lots of skeletons. Who are you? Asked the boy's mother. We're scientists, said Jada. We've come to study the porpoises. The boy's sister's eyes widened on hearing about the porpoises. I saw something strange, she said. Really strange. And make sure you're sitting up and focusing on the story, eyes on the text. What? Jada and Cam asked at the same time. Jada pulled out her tablet. 2 things, actually, said the girl. Well, one was not so much as seeing as not seeing. There weren't any fish on the coral reef. We didn't see one. Jada's ears pricked up. The girl continued. And then this porpoise swam right past us, and it looked hungry. It was really thin. I thought for a minute it might try and eat me. The children's mother looked at her daughter, alarmed. You didn't tell me about this, she said. Then she turned to Jada. Is there something wrong with the porpoises? Could we be in danger? Jada smiled reassuringly. No, I'm sure it's nothing serious. Just stay away from them for now. I'm sure everything will be fine. And thanks, said Cam as he waved goodbye to the family. Jada and Cam jogged to meet up with Kate and Reggie. Cam quickly filled them in on what the 2 children had said. Reggie looked out at the sapphire blue ocean. How strange there were no fish at all. No fish, none at all. That would certainly explain the porpoise being thin, but where had the fish gone? He removed an empty glass bottle from his lab kit. What's that for? Kate asked. I think we should analyze the water, Reggie said. I have a feeling there's something in it that shouldn't be there and it's driving the fish away. Is that your hypothesis? What you're trying to prove? Cam asked. That's right, Reggie said as he filled the bottle with a sample of seawater. With the marker, he labeled it surface beach water and added the date and time. He used a thermometer to measure its temperature, and then he also measured the air temperature. I'll need another sample from deeper in the ocean, and then I'll compare the two, he said, recording everything in his notebook. So again, we had that vocabulary word temperature, which just means how hot or cold something is. So he used his thermometer to measure the temperature of the water. So he wanted to find out how hot or cold it was. And we also do have a stop and think question. So I really hope that you've been paying attention with your eyes on the text. Cam first asked Reggie, is that your hypothesis? And then he restates the meaning of hypothesis, what you're trying to prove. So what is Reggie's hypothesis? So let's stop and think. First off, this is where we're getting to some of those words, and we got to make sure we understand what they mean. So it says hypothesis, what you're trying to prove. Authors will sometimes repeat the meaning of the word in a different way. They'll give you the definition to help you understand some of these more challenging words. So let's go back. Is that your hypothesis, what you're trying to prove? Cam asked. So I think we need to go back farther. I think we should analyze the water, Reggie said. I have a feeling there's something in it that shouldn't be, and it's driving the fish away. So I think Reggie's hypothesis is that there's something bad in the water that's keeping the fish away. I've got an idea. Reggie and I can rent a boat to get the deep water sample, said Kate, pointing to a sign on the building farther down the beach that read, Coral Reef Boats and Boards. You two can finish the interviews with the people on the beach. Try talking to those fishermen over there. Okay, see you later, Cam said, as he and Jada walked towards the cluster of fishing boats and fishermen cleaning their catch. So let's talk more about context clues. So the first thing, what are they? So good readers use context clues to determine the meaning of new words. When you use context clues, you're using the words and ideas around an unknown word to help you determine its meaning. So basically, we're looking at that word and what's going on around it to see if we can figure out what that word actually means. So let's think about what word helps us know what coral is. So a little boy piped up, yeah, we saw coral reefs. Did you know coral is a skeleton? We saw lots of skeletons. So the word that helps me understand what a coral reef is or what coral is, it says, did you know coral is a skeleton? So that's kind of giving me a describing word because now I can think, oh, I know what a skeleton is. Okay, it says we saw lots of skeletons. So now we know that coral must be like a type of skeleton. Now I'm sure it's not exactly the same because it's underneath the sea. Okay, they're not finding a whole pile of bones under there. But that's how the author is kind of helping us to get more of a visual picture of what a coral reef might look like. And then what phrase helps us understand the possible size of the reef? Okay, so we saw the coral reefs. Did you know coral is a skeleton? We saw lots of skeletons. So if they saw lots, okay, it's not like they just saw like a little bit, okay? They must have seen like a very large skeleton or coral reef. So we know this is not just going to be small, it must be very large. So that's also helping us understand the size because it says we saw lots of skeletons. And then it said, wait, our next question, what does the word reassuringly mean? What words help you understand the meaning? So it says, Jada smiled reassuringly. No, I'm sure it's nothing serious. Just stay away from them for now. I'm sure everything will be fine. So I want you to stop and think, what does reassuringly mean? Pause, think about it. Okay, what do you think it means? Okay, if I'm looking at this, it says she smiled reassuringly. No, I'm sure it's nothing serious. Just stay away from them for now. I'm sure everything will be fine. So when I'm looking at this, I like the phrase everything will be fine. It sounds to me like Jada is trying to make sure that this mom is not worrying. Okay, so she's trying to reassure or like calm her down so she's not worried. Okay, she also said, I'm sure it's nothing serious. And again, that can be another phrase that helps us understand that she's like trying to keep things calm, like, oh, it's no big deal. So that's reassuring, like when you're trying to make someone feel like better about something. So in this case, Jada is trying to make sure that this mom is not super worried about the porpoises. And for the last thing, your reading response for today, okay, it says Reggie suggests analyzing the water. What does he mean by analyze? And how does the text help you determine the meaning of the word? So I have the text right here for you. Okay, you're going to find that word analyze and then use text evidence to explain how you figured out what the word analyze means. Even if you already know, you can still find those clues in the text that can help readers understand what that word means even better. Okay, so that is your assignment for today. Make sure you complete this reading response on your own and have a great rest of your day. See you later, guys.